The NFL calls Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time. 7 Super Bowls, 10 appearances, 3 MVPs, over 600 touchdown passes, more playoff wins than most franchises. A resume so overwhelming that fans treat it like proof beyond debate. This is not a story about the greatest quarterback of all time. This is a story about the greatest environment of all time, and the quarterback who perfectly fit inside it. But numbers don't tell you how greatness was built. Numbers don't tell you what held it up. And numbers don't tell you whether the environment created the player or whether the player created the environment. So here's the real challenge. What if Tom Brady's legendary career didn't happen because he was the best quarterback, but because he had the best circumstances? Because underneath those historic totals is a pattern nobody wants to talk about. Brady played 2 decades with top-tier coaching stability, 2 decades with elite protection on the interior line, 2 decades in a system designed to simplify reads, eliminate chaos, and punish defenses for even the smallest mistake. 2 decades with receivers who weren't always the most athletic, but were the most intelligent, the most disciplined, and the most perfectly suited to his style of football. And when Brady left New England, he didn't walk into a rebuild. He didn't carry a broken roster. Tampa Bay handed him a top-5 defense, a stacked receiving core, and a reinforced offensive line, and even brought his most trusted weapon with him. That's the part the highlight reels don't show. Everyone points to the rings. No one asks what held the dynasty together long enough for those rings to exist. So before we crown him the undisputed GOAT, we have to ask a harder question. Were we watching the greatness of Tom Brady, or the greatness of the system that weaponized him? Because the numbers say he's the best, but the context might tell a different story. And that's where this begins. Even when he left, the only reason success followed him was because Tampa recreated the very same environment, right down to bringing in his most trusted weapons. For all the talk about Brady's toughness, precision, and leadership, there's one cold truth. Tom Brady played more of his snaps from a clean pocket than almost any major quarterback of his era. Let's talk numbers. In Super Bowls where pressure reached or exceeded 40% of his dropbacks, Brady's teams went 0-3. In Super Bowls where pressure stayed under 40%, they went 5-0. That gap isn't small. It's the entire career arc. Across his career, when Brady was pressured, his completion rate didn't just dip. It plummeted by more than 25 percentage points, one of the steepest drop-offs among elite quarterbacks. When he wasn't pressured, he produced Hall of Fame efficiency. Meanwhile, league-wide, quarterbacks typically face a pressure rate around 34 to 35%, and the average time to throw hovers near 2.75 seconds. Brady lived in a different world. He posted seasons with pressure rates dipping below 20%, and time to throw windows shrinking to 2.1 to 2.2 seconds because his reads were predetermined and his pocket was kept clean. Teams like the Bears, Texans, Commanders, and Jets routinely exposed their quarterbacks to 40 to 45% pressure. Brady, in many seasons, he never even sniffed that danger zone. He wasn't scrambling, he wasn't extending plays, he wasn't surviving chaos, he was protected, because the Patriots built a fortress around him. They prioritized the center and both guards every year. While other franchises chased highlight reel tackles or weaponized perimeter talent, New England invested in interior linemen who could hold the A-gap and form the tight, controlled pocket Brady required. Brady's signature move, the step-up, doesn't work without a clean interior. He needed that 6-foot launch box with 3 uninterrupted seconds to operate. That wasn't luck, it was deliberate construction, and the data proves it. When that pocket collapsed, Brady's performance collapsed with it. He didn't rank among the league's best under pressure. He ranked among the quarterbacks most affected by it. Brady's passer rating under pressure ranked in the bottom third of starting quarterbacks in multiple seasons. He wasn't the best quarterback in chaos. He was the best quarterback at avoiding chaos, because the system and personnel around him insulated him from it for nearly 2 decades. Compare that to quarterbacks who never had that luxury, young passers thrown behind bottom-tier lines, future stars buried under early hits, talents forced to survive chaos rather than grow inside structure. They didn't fail because they lacked ability. They failed because they lacked protection. Backup quarterbacks didn't step into Brady's 20-year chemistry network. They stepped into fragments of a system built for one profile, not a plug-and-play formula for anyone else. Brady didn't live that life. And here's the uncomfortable reality. If you gave him the pocket conditions that destroy modern rookies, if you took away the interior wall that defined his career, If you forced him to survive behind the lines other quarterbacks endure, the legend would change instantly. Brady didn't thrive in chaos. New England's mission, year after year, was to ensure he never faced it. This wasn't just protection, this was engineering. The first pillar of the Brady machine wasn't arm talent or leadership, it was time. Clean time. More consistently clean time than almost any quarterback of his generation. And once you understand that, the rest of the story starts to look very different. The modern NFL destroys quarterbacks long before they ever have a chance to become great. But Tom Brady came from a different world, a world today's quarterbacks will never experience. Brady didn't enter the league as a savior. No quarterback drafted in the last decade has received Brady-level patience. Zero. He entered as a backup, a developmental arm, a long-term project. He spent his entire rookie year on the bench, absorbing the system before he ever touched the field. And that kind of patience changes everything. Look at the quarterbacks who were allowed to mature. Steve Young sat 4 seasons behind Joe Montana before taking over a dynasty. Aaron Rodgers sat 3 full years behind Brett Favre before becoming an MVP-level quarterback. Brady, even after becoming the starter, ran a carefully controlled version of the offense while the system grew around him. Contrast that with today's reality. Over the last decade, more than 70% of first-round quarterbacks started within their first 3 games. Nearly 40% started week 1, and many did so behind bottom-tier offensive lines that ranked 25th or worse in pressure allowed. This doesn't develop quarterbacks, it destroys them. Look at the results. Justin Fields faced pressure on over 40% of dropbacks as a rookie, one of the highest rates in the league. Zach Wilson faced interior collapse faster than nearly any quarterback in football, averaging under 2.3 seconds before pressure. Joe Burrow took 51 sacks as a rookie and led the league in quarterback hits. Bryce Young faced pressure at a rate nearly 10% above the league average behind one of the worst lines in football. These quarterbacks weren't given a chance to learn. They were thrown into chaos and expected to survive. That's not development, that's demolition. The difference is simple. Brady was allowed to grow inside structure. Modern quarterbacks are thrown into the fire before they understand the position at the professional level. Brady never had to carry a broken roster, never had to make sense of a new offensive coordinator every year, never had to rebuild his mechanics after getting hit 50 times a season, never had his confidence shattered by an environment built to fail. He stepped onto the field with stability behind him, intelligence around him, and a system that would continue to evolve with him, not demand that he compensate for its flaws. And here's the truth people ignore. Brady didn't survive the NFL's learning curve. He avoided it. He was protected from the trauma that ruins young quarterbacks, sheltered from the chaos that destroys their fundamentals, insulated from the environment that turns first-round picks into busts before they even have a chance to learn the job. This wasn't chance, this wasn't luck, this was an advantage, a massive structural advantage that shaped everything that came after. And once you understand that, it becomes impossible to compare Brady's path to the quarterbacks the modern NFL chews up and spits out every season. The next pillar of the Brady machine wasn't speed, it wasn't size, it wasn't athletic dominance. It was intelligence, a receiving core built to read the field with the same precision Brady did. People look at Brady's weapons and pretend they were average, but the numbers expose a different truth. Patriots receivers consistently ranked among the league leaders in separation on short and intermediate routes. Not because they were faster than anyone, but because they understood leverage, coverage, and timing better than almost any group in football. When Wes Welker was in New England, he led the NFL in receptions 3 times. Julian Edelman finished top 10 in third down conversions for years. Gronk led all tight ends in yards per target and efficiency for nearly a decade. These weren't system passengers, they were system specialists. And the key wasn't athleticism, it was execution. The Patriots were widely known for running one of the NFL's heaviest option route offenses. These routes require the receiver to diagnose the coverage the same way the quarterback does and adjust instantly. Most receivers can't do this, most offenses won't even attempt it. But look at New England's numbers. Edelman, Welker, Amendola, and Gronk consistently ranked top 5 in catch rate on option route concepts. They weren't just catching passes, they were solving the coverage with Brady. And when quarterbacks elsewhere struggled with receivers breaking the wrong way, the Patriots thrived on the opposite. Brady threw into windows designed by intelligence, not raw athletic separation. Look at the contested catch metrics too. Edelman's playoff catch rate was over 70%. Gronk consistently ranked among the top tight ends in contested catch rate. Even as Brady's ball placement varied in late seasons, the receivers bailed out misses with elite adjustment and body control. These weren't miracles. They were the byproduct of a system that demanded precision, and players who specialized in delivering it. This is the part fans don't understand. New England didn't chase the fastest receivers. They chased the smartest ones. They didn't need a room full of superstars. They needed a room full of processors. Players who could stay perfectly in sync with Brady's timing and diagnosis. Most quarterbacks never get this luxury. They deal with wrong route depths, wrong leverage, wrong reads, and receivers who aren't aligned to the offensive architecture. Brady lived with receivers who executed that architecture to perfection. And here's the piece that breaks the GOAT narrative. These receivers elevated Brady's style more than Brady elevated theirs, because their intelligence completed the system. Their adjustments completed the routes, their leverage decisions completed the reads, and their reliability allowed the Patriots to run an offense most teams wouldn't dare attempt. It was the next piece of the machine, a receiving core engineered to weaponize Tom Brady. People point to Brady's processing as proof he was the best to ever do it. But they ignore the deeper truth. Brady's processing power was only lethal because the Patriots built an offense that required it, and protected it at every level. New England didn't run a universal system. They ran one of the most complex option-heavy offenses in NFL history. And here's what that actually means. While most teams run routes with fixed assignments, the Patriots built a passing game where 60 to 70% of routes could change after the snap based on leverage, alignment, or safety rotation. That's not normal. That's not common. That's not plug-and-play football. This system demanded receivers who could diagnose like quarterbacks. Quarterbacks who could trust receivers to see exactly what they saw. Instant full-field processing. Timing windows measured in tenths of a second. Rapid verification of safety rotations. And flawless execution in the middle of the field. Most quarterbacks can't run this structure. Most receivers can't run this structure. Most teams don't even attempt it because the learning curve destroys chemistry. But inside New England, it flourished. Here's the number that exposes the architecture. Brady consistently had one of the fastest average time to throw metrics in the league, often under 2.5 seconds. And it worked because the Patriots eliminated the plays Brady couldn't run. Deep developing hero shots, off-platform improvisation, extended broken plays, scramble drills, unpredictability. Instead, they built a system where simplicity and structure crushed creativity and chaos. While quarterbacks like Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, and Wilson made miracles outside the pocket, Brady stayed inside a framework that removed all uncertainty. The Patriots' offense punished defenses for disguises because Brady didn't wait for clarity. The scheme created clarity for him. Quick game efficiency, elite, middle-of-the-field accuracy, elite, short yardage conversion, elite, hot route responsiveness, the best in football for nearly 2 decades. But here's the GOAT-killing reality. This system didn't require the best quarterback in history. It required the right quarterback for the system. It rewarded mental discipline over athleticism, repetition over improvisation, structure over talent, predictability over chaos. Insert a quarterback with elite pre-snap ability. Rodgers, Breeze, Warner, Luck, and the machine remains lethal. Insert a quarterback with off-script magic but lower discipline. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and the system adapts to them, not the other way around. Brady didn't elevate the offense. The offense elevated Brady by removing everything that exposed his limitations and magnifying everything he did well. And that's the point people refuse to acknowledge. Brady's brilliance didn't create the system. The system created Brady's brilliance. The Patriots didn't build a scheme for any quarterback to thrive. They built a scheme tailored to one specific style, and they engineered it so tightly that that style became unstoppable. This wasn't a universal blueprint. It was a custom-made operating system, Brady OS. And the moment you understand that the scheme was designed to weaponize a specific type of quarterback, not reveal the best quarterback alive, the GOAT narrative begins to crack. This wasn't magic. It was manufacturing. And the system, not the quarterback, was the driving force. The offense was not designed around the best quarterback available. It was designed around the quarterback they had, and every success was the result of that alignment. If this system was so effective, if it insulated Brady, amplified him, and manufactured 2 decades of dominance, then there's one question every fan should be asking. Why didn't the rest of the league copy it? Why didn't every franchise build their own Brady machine? The answer is simple: they couldn't. They didn't have the infrastructure, the personnel, the culture, or the courage to run it. New England didn't just install an offense, they built an organism, a strategy that required stability, intelligence, and discipline at a level almost no NFL franchise can sustain. Only one other quarterback in NFL history, Roethlisberger under Tomlin, has had anything close to that level of stability. New England had the same architect, the same philosophy, and the same demands for 20 straight seasons. You cannot build a quarterback-centric ecosystem unless your organization is strong enough to survive failure while it grows. The Patriots were, other franchises were not. The system itself demanded a rare profile, not just from the quarterback, but from the entire offense. Receivers who could read coverages like coordinators, linemen who could protect the A-gap with absolute consistency, running backs who understood hot adjustments, coaches who spoke the same language for decades. Option routes, sight reads, leverage adjustments. These weren't athletic concepts, they were intellectual ones. Most NFL receivers can't run this offense. Most offensive coordinators won't try it, most teams don't have the patience to teach it, and most quarterbacks don't fit it. They wanted fireworks, they wanted mobility, they wanted the next big thing. New England ignored all of that. They built a machine that punished hesitation, exploited leverage, and demanded total mental alignment from everyone in the building. This wasn't a playbook, it was a culture. And that culture can't be copy-pasted. It took 20 years of stability, 20 years of personnel discipline, 20 years of coaching continuity, 20 years of building around one specific type of quarterback, couldn't understand and couldn't replicate. Teams saw the results, not the architecture behind them. New England built the machine, Brady fit the machine, and together they created a dynasty no one else could manufacture. Not because they found a secret formula, but because no one else had the organizational power to run it. If Brady's greatness existed independently of his surroundings, the proof would be simple. The Patriots would have stayed dominant after he left, and Tampa Bay would have stayed dominant after his run ended. But that's not what happened. The moment the mechanics of the machine cracked, everything fell apart. New England wasn't supposed to collapse. They weren't supposed to lose their identity, their consistency, or their discipline. The Patriots weren't a dynasty because of one player. They were a dynasty because the environment was perfectly aligned for one player. And when that alignment broke, the team deteriorated instantly. New England couldn't replace the intelligence at receiver. They couldn't replace the chemistry. They couldn't replace the protection. They couldn't replicate the option route ecosystem. They couldn't rebuild the same precision, timing, or mental discipline. Without the right personnel, without the receivers who could run that system, without the backs who could process hot reads, without the line that could hold the interior. The Patriots' offense didn't evolve, it vanished. They tried to force quarterbacks into a structure that required a rare skill set. They didn't have Welker, they didn't have Edelman, they didn't have Gronk, they didn't have Brady's pre-snap command, they didn't have the machine. The system had been built for one quarterback, and one quarterback only. And when you remove him, the foundation reveals its cracks. But Tampa tells the other half of the story. When Brady arrived, they rebuilt the same blueprint overnight. Elite protection, a stacked receiving core, a top-tier defense, and, most importantly, the player Brady trusted more than anyone, Gronk. They didn't challenge Brady. They didn't ask him to adapt. They adapted to him, and the result was instant, a Super Bowl in year one. But look at what happened after the pieces began to fall apart. Tampa's offensive line dropped from top 5 in 2020 to 2021 to bottom 5 in 2022, and Brady's efficiency collapsed with it. When the protection weakened, the offense unraveled. When injuries hit the receivers, the system buckled. When the timing broke, Brady couldn't compensate. When the environment lost its precision, the production collapsed. In 2022, Brady averaged the quickest time to throw of his career. Not because he processed faster, but because he was running for his life. The same pattern, the same dependency, the same machine breaking down. This is the truth people avoid. Brady's greatness didn't travel with him. His environment traveled with him. And when the environment changed, his dominance disappeared with it. The Patriots didn't fall because Brady left. They fell because they no longer had the personnel to run the offense that made Brady unstoppable. For 20 years, the league called Tom Brady the greatest of all time. But when you strip away the highlight reels, when you peel back the rings, when you remove the mythology, you see the truth that everyone else missed. Brady didn't create the dynasty created Brady. It wasn't one man, it was an ecosystem. a protection structure built to give him clean pockets while other quarterbacks were getting buried. A receiver group trained to read coverages at the same speed and the same depth he did. A scheme engineered to weaponize timing, discipline, anticipation, and leverage. A coaching staff that never changed philosophy, never panicked, and never lost control of the system's identity. The Patriots didn't win because they had one legendary quarterback. They won because every piece of the roster, every inch of the design, and every detail of the culture was constructed to amplify a certain type of quarterbacking. And when those pieces were removed, New England fell. Tampa fell. The illusion of individual greatness fell with it. Because Brady didn't carry the system. He completed it. He wasn't the engine. He was the final cog in a perfectly synchronized machine, a machine built by Belichick, powered by intelligent receivers, protected by elite linemen, maintained by disciplined coaches. The greatest of all time wasn't Tom Brady. It was the system that weaponized him. A collective, a structure, a blueprint that elevated the right kind of quarterback into something the league had never seen before. Brady earned every moment inside it. But the dynasty was never about one man. It was about the machine. A machine so precise, so disciplined, and so ruthlessly engineered that it turned a sixth-round pick into a global icon. Call Brady great, call his resume historic, but understand this, the true GOAT wasn't the quarterback. It was the system that built him. If Tom Brady is the GOAT, it's only because the greatest system of all time built him. And that's the story the league will spend the next 20 years trying and failing to duplicate. If you want more stories of NFL greatness and heart, hit subscribe, drop a like, and stick around. The next chapter of football history is already waiting.